We are moving on to section 3 of chapter 3. Our central question is, how can you use function notation to represent a function? I'm here to tell you, don't let function notation freak you out, okay? It's just another way of writing stuff. So, basically, it is using this weird f of x thing, and we say it f of x. It's not fx, it's f of x is what it is, how we say it out loud, okay? And it's just another name for y. Hang on. This is the same thing as this. We just use, instead of the y, we use f of x to be fancy and say this is a function. If you see f of x equals something, then that equation is a function. Might not be linear, but it's a function of some sort, okay? I made a little note down here. You'll also see g of x, h of x. You could have anything. You could have g of h, okay? F of x is the most common one, okay? But all of it is just basically the same thing as y. Write down what you need to write down. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to actually change this to say y equals negative 4x plus 7, because that doesn't look as scary, okay? And we're going to evaluate it, which means we're going to do some math, when x equals 2 and when x equals negative 2. So you're going to do this twice, once for 2, once for negative 2. You're going to take your equation and you're going to substitute in that 2 instead of your x. And we get that y equals negative 4 times 2, which is negative 8, plus 7, which is negative 1. And then let's do it again over here with the negative 2, and negative 4 times negative 2 plus 7. Negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8 plus 7, which I believe is 15. So those are your two answers. On your assignment, I absolutely must see that step. Okay, and then we have, it's kind of the same idea, different approach, okay? So this says, let f of t be the outside temperature Fahrenheit. T hours after 6 a.m. So if t is 6, then it's 6 hours after 6 a.m., okay? So in this statement, the t, this t is replaced by a 0. So that means 0 hours after 6 a.m., which would be 6 a.m. So at 6 a.m., it's 58 degrees outside. That's what it's asking. What does this mean? Well, it means that at 6 a.m., because that's 0 hours after 6 a.m., it's 58 degrees. Okay, so then this second one, f of 6, so 6 replaces our t, which means 6 hours after 6 a.m., which would be 6 plus 6 would be 12, so that would be 12 p.m. or noon. Okay? And at noon, our temperature is, we don't know. So at noon, the temp equals N. Okay, so that's your answer right there. And then on this last guy, we've got actually a couple pieces going on here. So here our t is 3, so 3 hours after 6 a.m., so that would be 9 a.m., right? And this one is 9 hours after 6 a.m., so 6 plus 9 is 15, right? So 15 o'clock. And if you don't know how to do this, subtract 12, and that gives you 1 p.m. I'm sorry, 3 p.m. if you don't know how to go from military time to not military time. So it means that 9 a.m.'s temperature is less than the 3 p.m. temperature, which makes sense, right? Okay, be very careful. This is not 3 a.m. and this is not 9 a.m. or whatever. Okay, it's the hours after 6 a.m. So beware, be careful that you're paying attention to what T means. Okay, and then the last way we're gonna look at this weird, funky function notation thing is that in this case we get this equation, and it says we know what h of x is. Okay, so that means that in place of the h of x, we're going to put a -7. So -7 equals 2/3 x minus 5. Solve for x. Add 5. That gives us -2 equals 2/3 x. Why did I add the 5 first? Because this fraction is only here. The whole thing isn't a fraction. Just this part is. So we got to do that second. In order to get rid of a fraction, we need to flip it over and multiply. Remember that we just multiply across, so that gives us -6/2, which is -3, equals x. So that's your answer. See all this work, kiddos? That needs to be in your assignments for every problem. Okay, same idea, except now we've got g of x, and it tells us that g of x equals -4. So we're going to substitute in -4 instead of our g of x, equals 1/3 x minus 2. Again, the fraction is only this part right here, so we need to add that 2 first. Get -2 equals 1/3 x. Now we need to flip over our fraction and multiply, which in this case is just 3, so 3 times -2 is -6 equals x. And we are done. And those are the concepts that we're doing in Chapter 3, Section 3. Put questions into chat, please. Zoom chat.